shop life. It's easy when you love it and you're busy. Living that shop life. Alright.
Hello, welcome to Shop Talk with Bob. This is the final episode in our series of grinding. I'm going to talk about dust control, some preferences of grinding blades that I have, and just a little bit about grinding blades, maybe without really elaborate fixtures, just a couple of little helpers and things like that that I've developed over the years. First of all, I'd like to talk about some preferences that I have. I have three preferences when it comes to grinding knife blades. And this applies not only to folders, but also to fixed blades. The first preference is that I like to grind in the hardened state. If the blade is soft, that is annealed, a couple of things can occur. One is when you're doing the rough grind, the initial grind, the abrasive tends to gouge. It doesn't really cut cleanly and crisply on annealed steel. So I like to have the steel as hard as I can get it in terms of knife blades. Generally, at least 58, usually 58 to 60, around 59 is my absolute preference. The second thing that occurs when you grind in the hardened state is that you avoid the possibility of warpage once the blade is ground and then heat treated. If it's heat treated after it's been ground, whether rough grind or you've actually finished most of it, there's always the possibility that you haven't ground 100% equally on both sides. If you don't, heating in the oven, taking it out, quenching it, can warp the blade in one direction or another. So I've always found that grinding in the hardened state gives a crisper, cleaner, easier to clean up type of cut on the bevels, and also prevents a lot of warpage. So that's preference number one, is that I grind in the hardened state. Preference number two is that, and these next two I think are going to cause some controversy, which I'm happy to produce. And that is, number one, I really like the blades to be even on both sides. I've always said to the people that I've trained and shown how to make knives here in the shop, it doesn't matter what the grind looks like, just so long as it's the same on both sides. Now this goes contrary to some popular designs and popular knives which are out there using chisel grinds or one-side grinds. That's their preference. This is my preference. If you're going to make a knife blade in my shop, you're going to make it equal on both sides.
Says the Godfather.
Other than that, I have no strong feelings on the subject. And my third preference, and once again, this is going to cause some controversy, I think, is that I really don't like to show grinding scratches on the blade. If it's a finished knife, it should look finished. It shouldn't have grinding scratches on it. Now, when I say scratches, I'm not talking about the longitudinal scratches that are put in by hand rubbing. Those I think are very decorative, very nice, and add a certain panache to the blade itself. But when it comes to the bevels, I really don't like to see any leftover scratches from heavy-duty grinding. In my shop, we get rid of them. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be polished. It doesn't mean I have to put a very high polish or a chrome finish on it. It can be bead blasted. It can be tumbled. This is Magna Cut, and I really like to finish the Magna Cut with a matte bevel on the swedge and on the main bevel, and hand rubbed on the flats. So those are my three preferences. I grind in the hardened state, blade is symmetrical on both sides, and no visible grinding scratches. Okay, from here we